Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome back to Weaving Worlds. So, in the real world, or at least the observable real world, the only creatures with human or better intelligence are humans. And while we come in different shapes and sizes and strength levels, we also share a similar set of vulnerabilities and weaknesses. A bullet in the heart will always kill a human, and nobody is an exception to that. However, mythologies throughout the world are filled with powerful beings, gods and heroes who can accomplish things that no mere mortal ever could. As such, fantasy works are full of powerful gods whom the protagonists could never hope to beat, and science fiction works often feature effectively omnipotent energy beings, or ancient species who have so much power and technology that any human who openly defies them can be destroyed in an instant. Using these ultra-powerful, unstoppable beings can make a big impression on audiences, but you have to be careful about how you use them. Or in other words, with great power comes great authorial responsibility. Make the power gap impossibly big. There's really no point in creating an unstoppable being that wields godlike powers for your setting if it's possible for regular characters to wield their own godlike powers. I mean, you may need someone like that to play an antagonist for powerful protagonists, but they won't produce the kind of effect we're discussing here. What you want is a being that is so powerful it can make all conversations, activities, and battles stop the moment it appears, because everyone worries about what it plans on doing and who it's going to target. For instance, the Dungeons & Dragons setting Planescape created a city called Sigil that acts as a crossroads for the multiverse. The ruler of this city is the Lady of Pain, an enigmatic figure who rarely appears in person, but can cause anyone in the multiverse to disappear or die instantly if they break one of her edicts. There are no exceptions, and nothing the player characters can do will protect them. Even the gods themselves are not immune to her powers. So, even in a heroic fantasy setting where the protagonists are medieval superheroes and sometimes take down gods, you can create beings that are far beyond anything the main characters could hope to match. Build and maintain a mystique. The ultra-powerful beings you create for your setting should never be at the center of a story. If they're the protagonist, then they're too powerful for any conflict to stop them for long. If they're the antagonist, then you'll end up frustrating your audience, because even if the protagonist wins, there's still no way for them to stop the source of the problem. As such, the best place to put overpowered beings is on the sidelines of the conflict, or in the periphery of the story. There's also the fact that the more we see a given creature, the less impressed we are by it. Familiarity breeds contempt, after all. And while contempt might not be the best word to use, the simple truth is that if you greet Cthulhu on your way to work each morning and nothing ever happens to you, it won't matter to you so much that he's some elder abomination from beyond the stars who has lived for untold eons. If you want the full effect of having a creature like this in your setting, you should keep their appearances short, to the point, and as dramatic as possible. However, if you want a being that seems impossibly powerful but isn't, you should still build up the mystique and keep appearances to a minimum up until the climax happens. Then, when the protagonists finally discover the truth, or they ascend to the being's level, you can burst that sense of mystique and create a different kind of dramatic effect. Trelane from the original Star Trek series is a good example of how this can work, and the titular Wizard of Oz has a similar sort of last-minute reveal. Create specific motivations. If your setting features unbeatable powers, then a question you need to ask yourself is why they don't get more involved in the conflict of your story, especially if your story has high stakes. One way of keeping them to the side is to give them a very specific motivation, or a rule that they always abide by that keeps them from interfering. Maybe a god gave mortals free will, and stopping a villain from acting would completely negate the point of having free will. Maybe an elder god from space has to worry about the cosmic balance, and has no time to do more than help out a mortal here and there. Or maybe the being in question has no stake in the conflict, and so they have to be convinced to do anything at all. Include at least one limitation. Limitations are another way that you can keep unbeatable powers away from the main action. After all, even if a being is far more powerful than a normal person, that doesn't mean it's all-seeing and all-powerful. Maybe, like Yog-Sothoth, it's locked outside our universe somehow, and can only interact with mortals in limited circumstances. Maybe, like the Lady of Pain, it stays in one location and never goes outside for some reason. Or maybe the being is dead in some respect, but its power and desires still exist in some form, and still interfere at random with the living. Creating these limitations can also allow you to give your overpowered beings a more active role in the story. Maybe there's no way to directly defeat the being, but because it has to abide by the bargains it makes, or because it has a very specific weakness to a sound or magic phrase, the protagonists can trick it into leaving, or drive it away completely. Now, limitations like these do weaken the effect of their power, but it also gives you a chance to give them a bigger presence. The Q episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation are a good example of what I mean, and that does include both positive and negative examples. Use mortals as proxies for conflicts. Another limitation you can set is maybe that the powerful beings of your setting are in conflict with each other, and for some reason can't fight directly. That means they have to get mortals involved so that they can fight their war in a series of proxy conflicts. By using overpowered beings this way, you can make their presence felt throughout the story, even if they never make a direct appearance. Lovecraft's story, The Dunwich Horror, is a good example of this. Yog-Sothoth never shows up in person, but he does father two otherworldly children, and they drive the main conflict of the story. A more classic example would be the forces of good versus the forces of evil, with each side following gods of light or darkness. The gods provide power to their chosen elite, but then they never clash directly, maybe because it would destroy the world or because they're too evenly matched and would destroy each other. Regardless, this format allows you to involve extremely powerful beings in your story while keeping its focus on the mortals who get actual character arcs. Examine nature for inspiration. The forces of nature are far more powerful than the forces humanity has at its disposal, even now. Back when nature was poorly understood, it was frequently anthropomorphized as the spirits and gods that populated pantheistic and animist religions. These gods are the origin of the idea of super-powerful beings, and as such, the powers of nature are a good place to start when you're looking at what your setting's unbeatable powers can do. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, mudslides, floods, and even just a person dropping dead for no visible reason are just a few things the gods were claimed to be responsible for back in the day. And so it should only make sense for your powerful beings to have at least that much power. Of course, like I've said before, if your protagonists are using magic or technology to wield these powers themselves, then your overpowered beings need to step up to the next level past that. Think about the kinds of forces we see in space. The impossible heat of the sun, the sheer size and weight of asteroids, the amount of destructive energy needed to destroy a planet, the size difference between rocky planets and gas giants, the gravity of a black hole, the speed of light, and the scale of a galaxy. Now, some notable shows keep fighting even after reaching this scale, but for the most part, if your powerful beings are on the galactic scale, then there's not much that can match them. Understand your story needs. This is the most important point of all, which is why I saved it for last. Why does your setting need an unbeatable power? Why does this power need to be in your stories? What is the point of using them? And can you make the same point if they didn't exist? Like I've said throughout this video, unstoppable powers make a better impression the less you use them. However, it's not enough to just make an impression. They should also do something useful by reinforcing the story themes, or creating a humbling moment for the protagonist. If all they do is give the protagonist some power or a magical artifact, that's a role that could be played by something less powerful, like just a stone with a sword stuck in it. For instance, the Lady of Pain exists as a way to explain why Sigil is a neutral ground, even though it's also in the playground of the gods. And it's also a way to remind the players that there's always going to be something more powerful than them. The reason why the great old ones of Lovecraft's mythos keep coming up is because they remind us to fear the unknown, which is the main theme of cosmic horror in general. So while unbeatable powers can be useful additions to your setting and stories, you should make sure they'll be useful before you start throwing them in, and only use them when it's absolutely necessary. You should also figure out why these powers stay out of the main conflict, because your audience is going to want to know. Thanks for joining me again for today's journey into Weaving Worlds. Please like, share, and subscribe because that raises my visibility here on YouTube. Check out my other stuff if you have some time, support me on Patreon if you have some money, and I hope I'll see you again for the next video.